And they're in a position to run those costs up almost infinitely. And so, although one does have the right to appeal, in point of fact, you don't. Well, frankly, the border is so porous. This customs censorship is really more of a minor nuisance. We have lots of ways to get the books into Canada. But we shouldn't have to do that. But you see what it is. We are fighting an underground guerrilla war against, basically, a continent that's occupied by forces that are not ours and are not friendly to us. So that's one law. The criminal code law is called the hate law. It's been in place since 1971. There have actually not been a lot of charges or convictions. It states that communication that promotes hatred against a privileged group like race, religion, sex, more recently sexual orientation is a criminal offense. But there are defenses. Communications other than in private conversation. That's why the Brad Love conviction was so galling. He was so badly represented legally that quite apart from the content, all those letters were private communications, him to an MP. And they didn't even fall under the law. But no judge, as there had not been a submission making that point, was prepared to do the right thing. Anyway, there are defenses under the hate law. Truth is a defense. Sincerely held religious belief is a defense, and also material in the public interest. All of this is rather vague, but while you may take some comfort from truth as a defense, as Doug Christie found when he was defending Alberta school teacher Jim Keester back in 1983, you have to prove the truth. Now, how would you prove the truth of a historical point? Well, you say, well, bring an expert in. Doug said, yeah, that's probably the tactic, but you've got to understand that most experts testify for the government. And if their expert opinion is ever to be sought again by the government, then the government is not going to want to reward them for giving their expert opinion to a Fox criminal. And so most experts that we might have access will be reluctant to testify on our behalf. And you wouldn't believe the punishment meted out to people who stood up. There's a noted Catholic psychiatrist named Paul Labbe who testified on the mental capacity of a man that Canada was trying to deport as a war criminal. He testified that the man basically had suffered several strokes and really wasn't fit to stand trial and could not assist in his own defense. He was stripped of his professional accreditation to punish him for having testified like this. It really does get pretty vicious and brutal. As I said, the hate law has not been used that often. However, for 30-some years, people have known its existence, and it's been a tremendous damper on any discussion on immigration. As Canada has become darker and darker after the change in the immigration law in 1965, almost makes you want to believe in conspiracies, doesn't it? Because you changed your immigration law in 1965 too. And I can't talk about the United States, but you know about Canada. There was no agitation in the streets. People weren't marching up and down. We're so sick and tired and so bored living in an Anglo-Saxon Canada. We want to look like Kingston, Jamaica, Shanghai, China, or Bombay, India. We're just so bored. Bring them all in. Well, that story didn't happen. This was engineered from the top. Anyway, as what had happened in '65 began to bear its dark fruit, people became a little bit aware, a little bit agitated. They knew hanging over them in the 70s and 80s and 90s was this hate law. And a lot of people don't know a whole lot about the law as I've had to come to learn, and wouldn't know quite how far they might be able to go, and so they had to say, well, better not say anything, I could get in trouble. Oh, that's exactly the way they want you to think. Well, of course, technology changed a great deal, and the current biggest problem we have is it does not come under the criminal code, but under what's called tribunal law. And this is really mischievous law because it allows them to do just about anything. In a criminal case, you still have certain protections under Anglo-Saxon law. Under tribunal law, it's pretty loosey-goosey. So we have a Human Rights Act in Canada. Actually, we have 14 of them. Every province and territory has one, and they each deal with, they're not all the same. But we have a federal law and the Federal Human Rights Act, and it deals mostly with federal institutions or Crown-owned corporations, and it's mostly in terms of hiring and provision of goods and services, and doesn't need not concern us this afternoon. But what does concern us is Section 13.1, and that has gone through several reincarnations, but as of our anti-terrorist legislation of 2001, we decided we would fight terrorism by censoring the internet. Hey, that's a good move. I have a simpler move: stop immigration, because we kind of know the type of people who blow planes up. These are the type of guys who put bombs in their underwear and things like that, and we're lucky. They're not the French-Canadian lady from 12 Riviera who wants to go and visit her friends in Florida, and it's not the young couple who want to go skiing in Vail, Colorado, or it's not the snowbirds who want to go to California. If we're lucky, there is kind of a certain profile, and if we'd actually look at those dudes. Anyway, no, not for our government, and probably not for yours either. They're going to go after everybody. So anyway, we were going to fight terrorism by censoring the internet. So we gave control of the internet to the Canadian Human Rights Commission. And Section 13 says that it's a discriminatory practice to repeatedly communicate, so that's over the internet, a material that is likely to expose privileged groups to hatred or contempt. That's really loose language. Likely to expose. Well, we have fought